Okay, the September 22nd, 2023 Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting is now in session. It's noted for the record that commissioners are attending this meeting via the web, and a quorum of commissioners is present for today's meeting. Today's meeting is being live streamed on the internet, and a link is posted on the Oregon Lottery website. Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Here.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Here.
Chair Safoff,
Here. Will the clerk please let the commission know who else is in the meeting?
yes, we have Mike Wells, Justin Hedlund, Kathy Ortega, Kathy Stromberg, Chris Scaro, Christy Comas, Matt Shelby, Nate Carter, and Syed Hussein.
Thank you. Members of the public have the opportunity to provide written public comments to the commission for this meeting. Will the clerk confirm that we did not receive any public comment?
That is correct. We did not receive anything this month.
Thank you. With that, I think we're going to move to the director's report. Director Wells, if you'll give us your report.
Yes, I will. Good morning, Chair Safoff, commissioners. I'm going to start today with some introductions. So with my transition to director, obviously we needed to fill the assistant director for security role. As a reminder, the AD for security is a statutorily required position at Lottery, whose responsibility it is to ensure the fairness, integrity, security, and honesty of all lottery operations. The person who holds this position is required to have experience both in law enforcement, computer security, and in leadership. I have chosen to appoint Senior Manager Justin Hedlund into a job rotation as AD for security. Justin has over 16 years of law enforcement experience in a variety of law enforcement roles, to include leadership. Justin is highly engaged in his local community, both professionally and personally, and is well known for his strengths in teamwork, leadership, communication, and community engagement. Prior to working in law enforcement, Justin worked in the private sector as an insurance company account representative and as a credit manager for a large bank. So I have full confidence Justin can handle the duties of this position, and look forward to you guys getting to know him in the year to come. Moving on, more than 40 lottery staff members have spent the week surprising deserving teachers in communities across Oregon who have been named Regional Teacher of the Year. The annual Teacher of the Year program is something we do at Lottery in partnership with the Oregon Department of Education, who is a lottery beneficiary. 17 teachers received a $1,000 prize, and 4 of them were announced as state finalists. Those 4 will be in the running for Oregon Teacher of the Year, who will be named sometime in October, and they will receive a $10,000 prize. The awards are especially meaningful in the small communities where our employee ambassadors have seen a ripple effect of support and gratitude throughout the community. I want to take this opportunity to thank our lottery employees who take time out of their day to actually represent Lottery and our organization in honoring these educators and presenting their awards to them. Next month, I will be able to update you on who was selected as Teacher of the Year and talk about that celebration. Moving on to sales, our overall numbers still remain above where we were last year at this point, by 4.3%. It's strong traditional product sales, which are giving us that boost, contributed to a lot of the record jackpots that we have had in this year. Powerball is up 214% from last year. Mega Millions is up about 20%. Sales of Win for Life game are up almost 46%. Following marketing efforts for the game from a couple months ago. So they have remained up higher due to that marketing campaign. Scratch It sales remain ahead of pre-pandemic levels and in line with last year's sales. Video lottery continues to be down slightly, 1.6% from this time last year. And sports betting is trending up from last year following the start of the NFL season. Compared to last year, our turnover is up by about 50%. A little housekeeping news, starting in January, commission meetings, we are going to set on the last Friday of each month, unless that's a holiday week, at which time we will do it the previous week to ensure that everybody has availability to take their vacation time. The reason for this is to allow some more consistency in planning and also to give staff a little bit more time to be prepared to provide you the documents that you want and make sure that they are accurate as you get them. So thank you for letting us make that adjustment. I think that's really going to help our staff be a little better prepared. And then the favorite part of our updates, some winter stories for this month. Antoine R. of Beaverton ensures that he always enters his non-winning scratch tickets in Second Chance. He recently found his name listed under Second Chance winners on the lottery website and claimed his $100,000 prize. Antoine plans to take his wife on a long overdue vacation to Jamaica and then visit his sons in El Paso. First-time winner Matthew F. from Portland hit it big with Big City 5 Diamond Jackpot. He won $17,416.40 while at Bradford's Sports Lounge in Portland. The other patrons at Bradford's told him it was the biggest jackpot that retailer had ever won, and they were happy to celebrate with him. He intends to put his winnings towards the purchase of a new car and a trip to Mexico. We have another first-time video lottery winner from the town of Veneta. Kelly B. was having a fun evening at Countryside Pizza when he hit a $14,247.80 jackpot. Kelly has a wife and new baby and plans to spend the winnings on spoiling the two of them and paying off some bills. And that concludes my report for this month.
Thank you, Director Wells. Any comments or questions from the commission?
I'm just really proud that we continue to stay on the path of honoring Oregon's finest teachers. Like I think I've said before, I think they're the superheroes of the state. And thanks for all the employees at the lottery that made that happen this year.
Being a former public school teacher, I fully support what you're doing there. I think it's really important, all the effort and what we provide to education. I'm very proud of the lottery about that. I also wanted to welcome Justin. Welcome to the job. And we know that you're going to do well for us, Justin. Any other commissioner have any comments? If not, we'll move to the minutes of the previous commission meeting. The minutes of the previous commission meeting have been circulated to the commission in advance of today's meeting. If there are no changes to the minutes, is there a motion to approve?
I move that the minutes of the Oregon State Lottery Commission meeting held on August 31st, 2023 be approved as final as presented today.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Satthoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion has passed. And with that, let's move to Ms. Ortega. Kathy, you want to talk to us about the financial report?
I'd be happy to do that. Good morning, Chair Satthoff, Commissioners, Director Wells. My name is Kathy Ortega, Chief Financial Officer for the Oregon Lottery. And we're here today to take a look at our financial report that covers the month of July and August, the first 2 months of our fiscal year 24. Having said that, if we could look at the statement for the month, just a couple of high points. You can see that against budget, we were down on revenue, still ahead of last year, but down on revenue from the budget, which is representative of the forecast. And I'll talk about that in a minute. We've, I would say the public information research are just some minor timing differences. We know we have an adjustment we need to make to the budget under salaries and wages for an OPE correction. I want to talk a little bit about commissions for a minute because this is opposite of the trend that we normally see. Normally, when you have a positive revenue variance, you have a negative commission variance because you've earned more money, therefore you're paying out more commissions. What's important to note about this commission line is it comprises two things. It is a rate variance and it's a volume variance, volume meaning sales. We have to be able to predict when we do the budget what tier we think the retailers will be at for their commissions. And we can go by past practice, we can go by historical data, but we're never going to be exactly right because year over year, retailer over retailer, nobody goes through those tiers the same. So we tend to be off a bit at the beginning of the year on the commission rate part of the variance. And so we will watch that. And at the mid-year, if it looks like we've either undershot or overshot that variance rate that we use, we would correct for that. And then that is compensating for anything positive that we would get for not paying out as much commission on a lower revenue number. So that's what's going on that commission line. And just on this page, we were 2.940 above budget, above last year, 2.7 million. I just want to call out that this is one of the smaller variances that I've seen in terms of the variance against budget. We do have positive spending variances, but normally we also have a healthy revenue variance, which usually pushes that net profit number on the variance line higher. So that's the month. And if you would flip to the year-to-date page, which is the combination of August and September, we have, oops, didn't get my own page flipped here. Hang on just a second. There we go. We have the same trend on the revenue line being under budget, and pretty much all of the other spending categories are the same explanation. Commission is exactly what I said, except for 2 months. We need to make that fix on the salaries, benefits, and wages in the budget number, and we had some very small variances on research and interest expense. For the 2 months, our variance against budget was 8.6 million. And the change over the prior year is we are actually a little bit down on net profit from the prior year. So I also have the schedule of services and supplies. And the only thing I'll call out there is hopefully you recall in past months that I've mentioned that we don't have any numbers in the network expense and recovery line, and we are still negotiating that contract. So I don't have any numbers to put in there at this time, but everything is positive as of this point in time for the 2 months. Going to the balance sheet, I have the balance sheet for you to take a look at today, and I'd be really happy to entertain any questions that you may have.
Questions or comments from the commission?
Yeah, I have a question around the professional services. There seems to be a really big positive variance there. What is behind that? Is it a timing thing or?
What the largest piece of what's in that professional services line is contract payments, which are things that we pay to consultants. And I think it is just given 2 months of the year, you know, we spread that over 12. We are going to spend on that line to accomplish the 4 non-negotiable projects and all of the work associated with it, but the invoices and the work just hasn't caught up with how we budgeted for it.
Okay.
Kathy, similarly, not nearly as much of a variance, but technology expenses, does that seem like a timing issue? Is that?
Yeah. It is.
Okay,
Commissioner, you're correct. It'll be interesting, we'll have a quarter under our belt next month. It'll be interesting to see if some of these numbers start to tighten up.
right. I have one other question, and it might not be answerable right now, but I know that we've moved to this new, in our last negotiations with retailers, we moved to this new way of compensating. And
Sure.
I realize this is early in the fiscal year. Generally, what we're hoping for is information, obviously, to forecast accurately and to budget accurately. Do we think that are we going to review how this is working for us by end of year and see if there's any corrections we need to make to help us more with those two things?
Good question, Chair Southoff. And yes, we will. But it will be sooner than the end of the year. We're watching it now. And we're going to have a first quarter budget review next month for very large items. None of these would hit that list yet, but at the mid-year, if we found that the rate that we were trying to project was wrong, we would adjust for it. What we saw last year, just as information, as you move through the year, we get more accurate on that
Right,
rate as the
right.
retailers fall through the tiers.
Right. Okay. And it may just be that's the design, and we need to just sort of figure out how to plan better for that design.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty granular in
Mhm.
how we go about that. We try to do it by month. But again,
Yeah.
it's just really tough to say who's going to be operating at what levels and what tier.
Early in the
Yeah.
fiscal year. Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. The last comment, and I don't, I guess I'm looking for your assessment or Mike's assessment. Look, video lottery was fairly flat or just under for 2 months now, at least. I know it's early in the fiscal year, but it's been a long time since I've seen a trend of video. In fact, I don't know that I ever have seen a trend here of video lottery being flat or down. And I'm wondering if we are thinking about what's causing that. Is it, too complex to figure out what's causing it? Are we worried about it? Anything of that nature?
Well, I'll give you a few comments and then have Director Wells give his perspective. You are absolutely spot on your observation. When we say down, we're saying relative to forecast because we're
Right.
still above
Yeah.
historical levels, but we're running in the last couple of months somewhere between 2.5% and 3% below forecast. We have asked multiple times and many people, what's causing it? And there is no one definitive answer at this point.
Okay.
Comments that I made with the executive team this week is I'm very anxious to see if this has any seasonality associated with it. Summer is typically our weaker season, and whether, it remains to be seen whether we will catch up during the stronger winter months or whether we've reached a new normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's going to be the more telling piece of information. But other than anecdotally, I don't think anybody can point to one factor and say, this is what's causing it. So Director Wells, did you want to weigh in here?
Yeah, I mean, not much to add. I think Kathy has nailed it. We are watching this as well, right? It's unusual to see this in our minds too, but post pandemic, the levels that we were at were very high, way above the norm that we had historically seen. And so, as Kathy said, nobody can put their finger on the why. Is this just we're trying to achieve that new normal? Is it an inflationary result? Is it seasonality? But we have asked, and everybody is watching it, and we're trying to figure it out. I don't think it's one thing. I think it's a combination of everything we've talked about. But
Well-
definitely something we're paying attention to.
Yeah, clearly. I guess the only thing I would say, a couple things. Lottery is a different business than sort of lots of businesses. So there are lots of differences in how what you would normally think. So in other businesses, when your revenues are flattening or down, it usually has to do with, competition, could be promotional or advertising needs to be increased or changed. Could also be footprint and growth, right? In this instance, also, I think in the past, I remember hearing that lottery refresh on the terminals helps, right? Which we're doing. So I'm hopeful that as you guys watch it, if this trend continues, you're going to come back to the commission with some kind of a report. I agree with you. It's not one thing and it's complex. And it may end up you do an analysis and you come back and say, this is a market right sizing itself too. I mean, there's always that too. But if it continues, I hope that you'll come back to the commission with some kind of, here's what you think at this time. And let's hope it doesn't continue, but.
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing I would want to add is, we have a new approach on kind of a video lottery application process, right? We've slowed the number down.
Yeah.
We're being a little more deliberate on
Yeah.
issuing contracts and the number of VLTs. And we've had those discussions previously, but we are paying really close attention to those changes, and those are not causing this impact.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just want to make sure that people understand, because there is a concern, or was a concern, that as we change the way we handled contracting, that would affect revenue. But we can tell that is not what this is. That is not what is causing this.
That's good. That's really good information. You don't want to have a process in place that somehow damages inadvertently. So
Right.
that's really good. Well, I thank you. If there are no other comments or questions for the commission, we will move to almost got talking and forgot. We have a motion. Is there a motion to approve the financial statements?
I move that the Oregon State Lottery financial statements for month ended August 31st, 2023 be approved for the record as presented today.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Will the clerk call the roll?
Commissioner Patel,
Aye.
Commissioner Ramirez,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilcox,
Aye.
Chair Satthoff.
Aye. For the record, the motion is passed. Thank you. And thank you, Kathy and Mike. We have a couple of rules that Chris Scarrow, I hope is, yep, she's here, that she's going to talk to us about. So Chris, you're on.
Thank you, Chair Satthoff, Commissioners, and Director Wells. Good morning. For the record, my name is Chris Scarrow. I'm the Rules and Policy Analyst for Lottery, and I have two proposed rule changes to share with you today, and both are recommended by our Retail Contracts Department, who oversees our retailer compliance. So the first would state that retailers and their employees may not purchase winning tickets or cash slips from our players. Retail Contracts recently heard this practice was happening, and they were concerned that either players were being misled about prize claim requirements, or players were purposely trying to avoid debt offsets that we have to do at lottery. And either way, we'd prefer that retailers were not facilitating those activities. This conduct is partially addressed in our current rules, but we were advised to state it more clearly. So that's the purpose of that first rule change. The second rule change is regarding a retailer's assumed business name. The rule would clarify that retailers may not use the word lottery in their name, or other terms that we've determined may negatively impact the integrity of the lottery. We recently had a retailer who wanted to change their name to have lottery prominent in their title of their business, and Retail Contracts felt that was inappropriate. And the retailer ultimately didn't change their name, but we were advised that if this is a restriction we want to enforce going forward, we would need to put that in rules so that retailers are aware. Both of these changes obviously affect our retailers, so we would send them out to our email list and make sure they have an opportunity to comment and ask questions before we move forward. So I would report back to you on that in November. In the meantime, both of these are in your meeting materials for those who want more information. So happy to talk about these further. Otherwise, that's all I have for you this month.
Questions or comments from the commission on either rule?
I have a question on the first rule. Is there any sort of punitive action if they do sell? If you have repeat incidents within a particular retailer?
So under the rule change, are you saying if a retailer was doing the purchasing?
Yes. Is there a penalty for that?
Yeah, so that would be a compliance activity against the retailer after the rule takes effect. And so the penalty could be, they could lose their contract if they didn't correct the behavior.
And I assume to follow up that we allow them to correct, but if one or maybe it's 2 strikes and you're out, or 3 strikes, I don't know, but I'm assuming we would terminate if they continued.
Yes, usually if I can interject, usually what this happens is, we find out this is going on. They would get a letter or a phone call from retail contracts saying, hey, we're aware this is happening. Can you please correct this action? That would happen once or twice before any, contract termination activity would ever start. We are talking about trying to clarify kind of some progressive actions so that those are clear in the new contract as they come out. So retailers would understand, kind of their 1, 2, 3 strike type punitive actions if necessary. But most of the time for this, it's, a letter sent to them explaining the corrective action should take care of it.
So I'm very supportive of this, but so the question may not sound like I am, but I'm curious. Really, our reach is only going to be over the retailers. We couldn't prevent someone with a bearer instrument from selling that elsewhere, right?
That is correct. Yes,
Okay.
this would be just holding the retailer responsible for not doing
They
it.
shouldn't be doing it. And as a licensee of us, they should not be doing it. I just wanted to make sure we didn't think that this may not prevent the end behavior from happening, but that's not our reach.
Correct.
Okay. Great. And then I had a question on the other rule, just another kind of minor question. And I'm not unsupportive of that one either, but have we trademarked lottery? Because lottery is kind of a common name. And I'm wondering if we have the authority to prevent people. I suppose, again, under contract, we might be able to. But if we haven't, you might want to check and see if we can trademark any of that. The name lottery.
So I think, it is kind of a common term. So I think you couldn't use Oregon State Lottery.
Right.
Name, but I think we would need a rule to have some teeth on prohibiting that.
I'm suggesting, I agree with the rule, but I'm suggesting you might want to look and see whether or not you can trademark the word "to" in association with the Oregon State Lottery. Don't know that you can because it's a common word, but you might ask DOJ if that's going to be a possibility or something, because then you would be protected. And I do think it's important on the reputational basis alone that you don't want other people looking like they're us. So I agree with the rule, but I was just going to raise that. Any other questions or comments?
Well, what if there's existing businesses with the name lottery?
Well,
I went on the state of Oregon's filing corporation website, and there's Mr. J's Martin Lottery right now. So it seems like we have precedent with other retailer or something right now. Some of them have, this is an active, corporation registered with the state of Oregon. How do we contemplate enforcing those that already have it?
The retail contract said we did not have any currently. but we can double check that.
Yeah,
if
well,
there is
they might
one
not
out
sell
there.
video lottery, but it
It
says.
might not be a lottery licensing, right? That's what I was kind of saying on the other one. Similarly, we might have a reach by contract over retailers on this stuff, but we don't have a reach over anybody else unless you trademark that. And then you would have a reach over others. So just,
So we'll look into it and make sure
Mhm.
there's nobody, we didn't want to have people change their name. We have some lottos currently,
yeah,
but no lotteries as far as I know, but we'll check on that.
Yeah, Commissioner Patel, the one that you found is kind of what started this discussion.
Oh, okay.
So good find. And yes, we agree that we can it's only our retailers, right? Those partnering with us that we would have any control over the naming conventions of
Okay.
their titling. So
Yep. Okay, any other discussion, questions, comments on the rules? And if not, we'll look forward to the report, see how the public comment period goes in it. Will be
Yeah.
interesting.
Thank you.
That sort of, thank you, Chris. Thank you. We are now at the end of the agenda. Are there other communications or other business that the commission should attend to at this time or wants to share at this time? Okay, hearing none, this concludes today's meeting of the Oregon State Lottery Commission. The next meeting is scheduled on Friday, October 27. And thank you for attending today's meeting. The meeting's adjourned. It's a beautiful day. I hope you all have a nice weekend.
thank you. Bye,
Thank
guys.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.